I love the kitchen. For me, it's not just a place to cook in and eat in. It's a place to live in. And maybe I shouldn't say this because I know it's a terrible cliche, but it's true. The kitchen really is the heart of the home. And what's also true for me is that it doesn't really matter whether I've got time on my hands and I can cook slowly and leisurely, or if I'm really up against it and have to do frantically fast meals. The thing is, if I'm in the kitchen, I'm happy. There's no one way of cooking any more than there's only one way of living. But as far as I'm concerned, you can't have too much food. I love thinking about food. I love cooking food. I rather like eating food. And I particularly relish coming up with a food solution, no matter the occasion. When I want to push the boat out but I haven't got time to fuss, a low-effort, high-impact dinner for friends comes courtesy of my roast seafood. To keep hungry packs of marauding teenagers fed, I rely on my small pasta with salami. It's not for every day, but I believe in life you take your pleasures where you can. So when I feel like a splurge, nothing beats my chocolate peanut butter cheesecake. My mother's praised chicken turned Sunday lunch into a family celebration. But that's not all. The leftovers make for the most fantastic Thai chicken noodle soup. But anyway, to the kitchen. When I have friends over midweek, I want supper to be simple, I want it to be stress-free, but it's still got to be a feast and it's got to be fabulous. I think of my roast seafood as something of a twofold treat. Anyone who eats it feels spoilt, and they're right, they are being spoilt. And as for me, I'm happy and relaxed because I know how easy it is to make. It's chic, it's simple, and it's indulgent. Really, what more could one ask? So early doors, a bit of clam soaking. I soak the clams for 10 or 20 minutes just because my mother did, but really these days there's no need to. Any sand inside the clams should now go into the water, and also if any clams do not close after they've been soaking, well, you know you ought to throw them away, and as it is, you should throw away any that are cracked now. What makes this so helpful is it's really a kind of one-pot meal. Potatoes at the base, and they become lovely and roasted. The thick slices unpeeled, and each slice needs to be quartered. Everybody loves roast potatoes, and also there's something so reassuring about the taste, and they make a wonderful foil for the exotic, intense flavours of the seafood. Tumble the potatoes into a roasting tin. I want the potatoes to roast and not braise, so I don't want to cram them in too tightly. On top of the potatoes, some garlic cloves, no need to peel them. Red onion. You could just as well use an ordinary everyday yellow onion. I just feel a bit more party-fied using a red onion. Put these onion pieces pinkly among the potatoes. And now a lemon. I don't peel that. It is an unwaxed lemon, which helps. Small pieces, about 1 centimetre. It's got to roast in something. And that is some olive oil. Not extra virgin here because you really won't notice it once it's roasted. And this very beautiful tray goes in a very hot oven, 220, for an hour. I want to drain the clams. Any that have stayed open at this point, you chuck away. But these are perfect. And I love the way too the sweetness of the clam flesh, and as well as that strong, rich liquor, just infuses the potatoes. The squid, well, these baby squid certainly, are also rather sweet, but so tender as well. I want it in rings. This whole way of cooking seafood is a bit of a revelation. Normally you'd steam, say, the shellfish in a pan with some wine, and it occurred to me that actually I could use the intense heat of a hot oven instead of a pan. Just very easy, you bung everything in and it cooks. Time now for the seafood to be luxuriantly scattered over the potatoes, lemons, onions and garlic. Ah, very heady aroma. And even though this is only going to take a few seconds, I don't want the pan to lose any of its heat, so I'll just put it on a low flame for a moment, and then over go the clams, and then the baby squid. Just drop it in spaces, and now the prawns. There's something so ancient, so primitive about them. So we evolved and we get to eat them. And before this tray goes back in the oven, I want another glossy dribble of olive oil and a splash, well, more than a splash, of wine. I love rosé wine and I have no time for snobs who look down on it. So back it goes in the oven for 15 minutes. Utterly gorgeous. I just want a small bit of parsley. Look at that. Seafood in all its splendour. This goes beyond mere supper. This is a feast. I don't think anyone would miss this. This is my sanctuary. I always feel serene and at one with the universe when I'm surrounded by food. You may not believe this, but my children always complain that there's nothing to eat in the house. But anyway, you need a cupboard of some sort, I think, so that you can have a stash of food, so you can cook when you haven't got any time to shop. Now, obviously, you can't cook forever, but actually I can cook for an awfully long time. Pasta comes in an awful lot, and I tend to buy odd shapes when I see them, and this one I love. It's called calamari, squid, and that's because you can see it looks like squid rings, and in fact I cook it with squid rings. Just fry them in a bit of garlic oil, splosh on some white wine. That's the sauce. It's delicious. Oh, and this is so useful. The Italians call it pasta mista, and it's really bin ends. You can buy it there in packets, but you can make your own very easily. Just whenever you've got maybe the leavings of some spaghetti, penne, any other shape, not quite enough to make a meal, just bung everything into a freezer bag and then beat with a rolling pin, put in a jar and use for soups or however you like. My children love this. Oh, and I adore ditalini. They're like all small shapes. It's funny. Ditalini really means like little fingers, but they don't really look like that, but they are fantastic. Great in soup and great in sauces. Anyway, I know that I can come in here, grab what I've got and make supper. My small pasta with salami is something of a house special, often needed when I have unexpected marauding teenagers. Now, salami. There is nothing to stop you using proper salami, you know, a thick sausage that you slice up and chunk, but I always have so many packets of this pre-sliced salami. We don't need any oil in here because the salami's got enough fat of its own. And I can't tell you how comforting it is for me to know that I can feed my children and their friends at a moment's notice. You know, when they were little, I arranged their play dates, but teenagers like to organise themselves, or rather disorganise themselves. I never know how many I'm going to have to feed. Can of tomatoes, backbone for my daily cooking. Now, an Italian taught me that whenever you put a can of tomatoes in a sauce, you should swill out the can about half full of water. So I do as I'm told. Here we are. Now a bit of butter. And what I find about the butter is that it helps thicken the sauce and make it a little bit glossy, but also tomatoes can be just that bit too bitingly acidic. I'm going to drain the cannellini beans. In they go. Now, some bay leaves. We'll use a bouquet garni. Now, another Italian told me that before you drain pasta, you must always remove some of the pasta water because the starch will help a sauce emulsify. Quick drainage and we're away. Right, tip it all in. How pretty it is. Now a bit of the pasta cooking water. Final bit of butter. And then everything is how it should be. And although no parent expects appreciation, well, we may expect it, but we don't get it, I at least know that this always goes down well. I'm going to leave it to stand for 2 minutes so the ditalini can absorb all that lovely tomatoey salami sauce. And then we are ready to roll.
So this is not going to work. Who wants to?
He took on the beginning of it,
Oh my god.